Ciao, sono Sara Z dalla La Land. Incontrerò grandi ospiti provenienti da ogni parte del mondo. Vi sorprenderanno condividendo la loro storia, ma tratteremo anche svariati argomenti. Le storie raccontate spezzano le barriere. Enjoy!
Hi, I'm Sara Z. I'm with Brooke Nelson Muzzatti. You are 17 years old, very young, but you are already an activist and you already are taking care of such a huge mission, which is climate change, saving the planet. You joined the Earth Uprising 2020, and the Earth Uprising is a youth-led, not-profit organization, and it gives you all the tools and resources and connection in order to really be active in your communities. And maybe you can explain us a little bit more about it. When was, Brooke, the first time you felt this urgency to really talk about climate change and make a change and have a voice about
it? Sure. So I think how I noticed climate change, I used to go to a place in North Carolina called the Outer Banks. So it's just like a barrier island in just the Atlantic Ocean. And they're disproportionately affected by the climate crisis there. So every year when I'd go back with my family, I'd see this place that meant so much to me, where I'd spent so many happy times and met my best friends. And I just see this place destroyed. Their industries would be destroyed. You just fit houses being rebuilt every single year because it's just the hurricanes and the climate crisis just devastated them. So I think that's how I really noticed that there's an issue and it's affecting people every day. It wasn't just global warming is a thing, but it was real to me. And then just doing other things in my community with youth, organizing, just made me realize how important that is and the power I could actually have if I joined a community like Earth Uprising. And I'm so happy I did because everyone's amazing.
And how many years now? So you joined in 2020, so now it has been 1 year.
Yeah.
You joined them. Did you see any change in the work in climate change or?
Yeah, I've already seen things the Biden administration in the U.S. We've seen their increased targets that we really appreciate, and throughout the world as we progress and as climate becomes more of a topic, we've seen that take over policy and people or countries increasing their commitments, which is obviously great. They needs to be better, or the commitments really need to be better. Speaking as a Canadian, I think our commitments are pathetic and we've got to work on it, but it's good to see that positive change happening with the cancellation of pipelines and things like that.
Yeah, because climate change is causing terrible problems. It's affecting our health. It's affecting the ability to grow food, housing safety and the work. What are, in your opinion, the major causes in the world that climate change is causing right now? And maybe you can tell me more about Canada, where you live.
Yeah, for sure. I think a huge thing, this isn't necessarily in Canada yet, but climate migration, borders and human rights, all of that, because of climate change, youth are really on the front lines of growing crises. We've seen in the US border, for example, that's a huge cause for people to have been forced to migrate. There are islands in the South Pacific that are just completely going underwater, threatening lives. So I think that's a huge thing. We can see the physical geography of our world changing, as well as human geography, is people being forced, especially the global south, being forced more north. And then an also huge thing is the way indigenous people have been affected by it, and BIPOC, disabled people, women. These are people who are obviously the most affected by the climate crisis, just in everything, because of their historical oppression. So seeing that too, I think that's huge, that we don't talk about enough, how intersectional and really devastating climate issues, not just climate justice, it's not just climate, it goes into everything.
And what can we do about it? And what do you do at this not profit organization, Earth Uprising? What kind of actions are you as a young person take with your colleagues and your other your other friends? Because I'm sure you're all friends, right? You're part of a community and you help each other. What's the daily homework, let's say, or tasks that you do in this organization?
Yeah, for sure. Like we at Earth Uprising, we focus a lot on climate education. We want to, like, that's a priority of ours, as well as working with other organizations, strikes and things. It's a priority that we educate youth. It's really important for us to be taught as a generation that climate change is real and it's possible that we can mitigate, and we can adapt. And we need climate education so we can have a fast, green, just transition, and that will prepare us for the future of green jobs, green lifestyles. And then that education that we so desperately need, it really needs to become accessible to everyone, regardless of who they are. Like I was talking about before, like it needs to be all like minorities, like lower income people, like everyone needs to have access to this really important climate education so that they can make their own choices and start to like let it affect like how they live their lives and how they progress.
Yeah, and I think, you know, like you in this moment, you are my teacher, my professor, because I didn't know much about it, and I'm honest with you. And this is great that you have a community where you can communicate and knowledge people about it. This, because I think that's what it is. It's a lack of knowledge about certain topics, and having young people like you, because when I was 17, I was thinking about going to the club. I wasn't thinking about, you know, huge thoughts. That this is like very, very inspirational, Brooke. And what did you discuss about when you were the moderator at the Youth Speak Summit in 2021? I know even Greta Thunberg was there, and I think you were in session number 5, if I'm not wrong. There were different sessions. What did you discuss?
Yeah, so Greta was actually in our first session. She helped introduce it, and I loved watching the Zoom. We had Greta, other activists. It's really educational. Even for other activists, being able to sit in and watch them record their Zooms is educational. So my session was session 5. It was the zero emissions timeline and transition to renewable energy. So kind of like I was speaking about before, when it comes to education, we need a really fast decrease in fossil fuel extraction and emission, and we need to change from non-renewable energy to renewable energy, so we have a habitable planet and a livable future. And again, what I was talking about with equity, the core of this transition is climate justice, and the people that are most impacted by the climate crisis need to be protected and supported during that transition.
Are you going to have other sessions like that? Like, is there going to be another like youth summit like soon?
We hope so.
Until next year.
We hope to do one again, because it was a great experience for all of us involved, I think. And we got so many positive messages about it. It was amazing.
And what's very interesting in your bio, because you had experiences as a neurodivergent person. I'm not sure I understood what it means.
That's okay. So like neurodivergent, you know, people whose brains, you know, work differently than the neurotypical way. A lot of that is the same.
How about you? What happened to you?
No, I just, as someone like with ADHD and some learning disabilities and stuff, I do identify as a neurodivergent person, and that has definitely shaped my life a lot and can impact things like education in school, right? And that's the same thing. It can impact my ability to like be a successful climate activist, I guess, and to like really participate in all the things I want to do. So I think part of my goal in Earth Uprising is to make sure that it is accessible, like activism itself is accessible for all people, because it's like, again, these like inequities and barriers people shouldn't have to face. So I think it's important that we like keep that in mind. And like from my experience with Earth Uprising and Fridays for Future, like climate activists are the best people when it comes to being like everything that people like would in normal day-to-day life would think is like, wow, that's super progressive, and wow, I didn't even think of that. That's just is like a default with climate activists, respecting each other's like mental health and like capacity and stuff. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, and you just mentioned Friday for Future. I was gonna ask you, and I wanted to find out more about this organization. Is it another organization, Fridays for Future?
Fridays for
and
Future.
You are the international communication member.
So that's for Earth Uprising, yes. And then Fridays for Future is a separate organization. It's the Fridays for Future movement that was Greta founded. They're striking every Friday. So there's chapters. I'd probably say it's probably the largest like youth climate organization in the world. I think I'm okay saying that. So there's chapters all over the world, and I'm a member of the Toronto chapter. And it's been amazing to work with them too, because with Earth Uprising, as an international communications team member, we take more of the like global lens, whereas with Fridays for Future Toronto, I can like shut down the streets in Toronto like ourselves, take it like
so Fridays for Future is more focused on your country, the country like Canada.
Earth Uprising, we tend to be more like global. At Fridays for Future, the specific chapters all like organized congruent like strikes.
Are there any aspirations, Brooke, you have, or like in the near future, like when they ask this question, like, oh, what would you like to do in the near future? I don't know. We have to think day by day, right? Like we have to live and be in the present. But you're so young. Do you have any desire or goals you would like to achieve?
I think everyone, like we all have our goals. It can be hard sometimes because as a climate activist, I know so much about how like devastating life could get really quickly that it can be hard to think long term just out of like that climate anxiety. But as I like talked before, I love like global like cooperation, international cooperation, all that stuff. So I think, I'd like to continue working in like NGOs or in global affairs when I get older.
And right now you're going to school and you're going to the university next year. What kind of branch do you choose for the university?
So I haven't decided yet, but I'm thinking it's along the lines of international relations, specializing in like globalization and the environment. It depends on the specific program I choose at which school, but that's the general area.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're going to be successful, because if you're starting right now being in this field and being so active, it might be easier for you probably later on.
Yeah, definitely. There's so many skills like you gain as a climate activist, like knowing how to write like press releases, like manage teams, like embargoes, like all these crazy like stuff. You learn so much about policy. There's so many things. It's like we all agree. We'll talk about how like, wow, we're doing like the work that like some adults couldn't even imagine.
Yeah, what can we do? What can I do? Even I'm thinking, what can I do to save the planet in my little world, like day by day? What can we do about it? Like if we cannot really make a big change, if we are not involved like you in organizations, or we can just do a little work, what could it be to make a change?
It's easier than you think. You can just like take a moment to like call your representative, write an email, text, something like that, and tell them that you want your country or area's commitments to like the Paris Agreement, for example, increased, or you want a specific, like you want fossil fuel like extraction to be ceased, or like a pipeline going through indigenous land, you want that to be stopped. Just using your voice and really putting that pressure on politicians and do the people in power with just a simple phone call, is if that's like what you can do, that it makes a difference when we all do like small things like that to put on pressure and to hold like governments, corporations, industries accountable.
Yeah, so
and of course supporting your local youth climate activists.
Yeah, and be involved, right? Like locally in our hometown. I don't know if my hometown there's something like that in Italy. Talking about in Italy right now, I'm in LA. In LA for sure.
Well, my hometown doesn't have that much, so that's why I just like Toronto. It's the biggest town close by, so.
And we can work from home, like remotely.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like we all like climate activists have been using like Zoom and like Slack and all of these things like before the pandemic. We were pros when the pandemic happened, because that's another great thing. You have like, you get to meet like friends from all over the world, and you just like, you talk on like Zoom. You just have like, oh, we're working on this random thing.
So do you make a program? Like, do you have like, when you talk to your friends or other colleagues, like, do you make a program or list of things that you should change or people should change in their hometown or in cities? Like
it depends. Yeah, like it depends on the specific like purpose, because there's so many things. Like I've been to meetings where someone's made a like presentation on like how to reach out to your university to like divest from fossil fuels. And then also we have things like our summit where we actually created a list of 10 demands that we gave to the Biden administration. So it ranges. That's the thing with like climate activism, is there's such a huge like range of things we can do that it definitely depends. We do all the things. You
do everything. For a moment, I thought, okay, maybe she wants to become a dancer, because I read that you like taking dance classes at your dance studio. Are you taking dance classes for fun, or probably that's an open career for you? It could be.
I'm a competitive dancer. So I just do competitions with my studio and with my team. I don't think I'm going to go anywhere with it once I graduate. Just I have other interests, and also like I don't think I have too many injuries. Like my ankle is broken right now, so I don't think.
What happened?
I fell. I was at dance. I was teaching, and I kind of took a step and fell. So I don't think I'm going to go with that. But it's like a passion of mine. It's a great thing. It's to like take off. Like dance is great. I'm sure you know it's good for like, you know, to just like get out of your head, get in the moment, you know, dance those emotions away, like learn the choreography and just feel good. So
yeah, because you're focused just in that, right? Just in learning.
Like it's a great coping. It's a great coping. Like when it comes to like climate anxiety, like having like my dance, having it like 3 days a week. I have like the schedule. Like it happens all the time. It's a great coping mechanism. It's a great like healthy way to do something like physically good for me and like mentally good.
Yeah, and I'm sure probably taking dance classes and free yourself, like you might have more ideas, or you're more open about the things that you're following, like climate change, like tasks, or even when you talk to your friends, you loosen up, like probably.
Yeah, I don't know, like, you know, you're just in like that, and you find yourself standing in like first position all the time.
Yeah, I know.
Or like this done in a second.
I know what you mean. Like even when you see some people like coming towards you, like, oh, she's a dancer. Oh, he's a dancer.
Oh, you can just tell the way they stand, like their posture, like you see that person standing, like with doing some like tondus or something, and you're like dancer right there. That person is just like tondus on the spot.
So or maybe like the parent, how did you know she's a dancer? He's a dancer, like. But I asked you that you are half Italian, right?
Yes, I am. You didn't say it yet.
Oh, I thought I did. Like Brooke Nelson, like very American, then Muzzatti is such a typical Italian last name. You have Italian origins.
Yeah, my mother's parents are from Italy. Her dad, so my nono, he came from around Pordenone, Friuli, after the war. So you know, see, I never pronounce it right, but I can say Friuli. I got that. After World War II, he was 15, I believe. So he came with his family to Toronto and started a whole new life. And now my mom, and here I am.
And do you speak some Italian?
Ooh, I'm not, my mom and my sister are way better than I am, but I always react with the like andiamo or like basta, like, those phrases. And of course I can swear in Italian really great, which I won't do now, but my go-to.
You can say something in Italian, bro.
Okay, so my favorite word in Italian is andiamo, just because I say it all the time. I guess I picked it up from my mother, because she'd just be like, we'd be in the grocery store or something and be like lagging behind. She'd be like, andiamo. So now I'll just like yell it at people and I'll realize they don't even understand what I'm saying. But it's just, I love andiamo. It's my favorite word.
Well, you said it before, right? You mentioned, and you said andiamo e basta, like basta.
Yeah, basta, like, oh yeah.
A lot of people know those words, like andiamo, like let's go and basta, like that's it, stop it.
Yeah, well, we actually I don't think you would have this in Italy, but in like North America, Canada, I know specifically in my area, we have like words that are kind of like created. They're not necessarily Italian, they're kind of like Italian and English, that like when like a bunch of immigrants came in the 50s, kind of like created their own like words. So we have like manja cake. Have you ever heard that?
Which one?
Manja cake?
Mandragate?
Manja cake, like cake eater.
Oh, manja cake.
Yeah.
No, like combining the two words, like the two.
Yeah, so it's like manja Italian and then cake English. It's
no, manja cake. I love it. No, but I've never heard it. No.
So yeah, so that's a word that was used for like English people specifically, just like the regular day-to-day Canadians, because it'd be like there's like two meanings, that the bread, that their cake or that their bread was like cake.
See.
Because it was so like fluffy and like Wonder Bread or whatever, compared to like, the hard like Italian bread that they'd use it. So it's like, my mom, when I'm not eating, like she's like, oh, or when I'm like not like, or if I feel like I'm just gonna eat like crackers or something like random like that or unhealthy, she'll be like, Brooke, like don't be a manja cake. And then, reminds me to eat well.
It. No, I didn't know. Well, I hear a lot here in LA, like when they think about Italian language, like manja, manja, manja.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like eat. But manja cake has some more flavor to it, and just flavor, it combines good, like flavor food. So it's good. No, and do you have any Italian friends?
I have a few, not that many, and it's funny because we all have like the general like same like things. Like we have manja cake, we have like those certain words our parents said. We all have like the same like, oh, somebody came after the war to like Toronto to like be a farmer or something. We all have that like same vibe. Like my mom, she grew up in Toronto with like her neighborhood was like all like Italian, so everyone has that like story.
Yeah, I know a lot of Italians are now living in Canada, New York, even more. Mm-hmm. In LA, like a small percentage of Italians, more probably Canada, Brazil, New York, and they migrated to the United States for work, usually for work, to find a job. Yeah. That's the main thing. Mm-hmm. But Brooke, thank you so much. I've learned a lot. Thank you, teacher. Brooke.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great to talk to you.
Thank you so much. I'm Sara Z, Brooke Nelson Muzzatti. Ciao. Ciao, Brooke.
Ciao.